Hi everyone, happy Lunar New Year. This is the LEGO Creator Medieval Dragon set. I think it's a good way to celebrate the Lunar New Year because we have here a dragon as well as a snake for the year of the snake and also a phoenix. So 3 mystical beasts. I think they all look pretty cool. Let's open the box and see what's inside. But first of all, let's take a look at the back real quick. Here's a different view of all 3 animals as well as a larger view of the upcoming LEGO Castle. This is a set that will be released soon, at least in theory. So it's interesting that LEGO is teasing it right here. And just a small disclaimer. The models cannot be built simultaneously, and it's nice that LEGO includes this disclaimer just to make it absolutely clear, because some people who are new to LEGO might not know this. Alright, let's see what's in the box. As usual, we see that the contents do not fill the box entirely. In fact, I think you could fit these contents in a box about half the size, because there's lots of empty space right here and lots of empty space here as well. So yeah, definitely they could have chosen a smaller box, but they chose a larger one for marketing purposes. In this set, we got 5 numbered bags, numbered from 1 to 5, thankfully. And we also got 3 instruction manuals, the first of which has a QR code to scan for points. So all 3 of these are paper, so if you want, you can build any of these without having to go online or the app to get the instructions for the alternative builds, like what LEGO does with some other models where there are multiple builds. And I will point out that you cannot build this together, so you cannot have one person working on bag 1, another person working on bag 5 to build the dragon, for example, because it's all in one book. You cannot build these 2 simultaneously, as the box said. So that is something to keep in mind, but maybe you can build together if one of you uses the book and the other person uses the PDF for the LEGO Builder app. I'll see if there's any interesting information at the front, but usually LEGO Creator is very light on those. By the way, they keep telling us about the paper bags, but no paper bags so far, although we do get an orange brick separator. Alright, let's start building. You might be wondering why the designer put these eyes in the middle of the build where they're going to get covered up by pieces like this. What's the point? Well, because this is a 3-in-1, it's actually to hide these pieces so that they could be reused for other builds. So, for example, these eyes will be used for the phoenix for actual eyes, but because we don't need them for the dragon, because the dragon has brick-built eyes, these pieces are just hiding here because this was the most useful place to put them. That's also why we have really weird connections. Like here we have a Technic pin with axle, but this thing doesn't actually move. So that's very strange, but it's just to hide that piece here because we're going to need it later for an alternative build. So it's pretty interesting to see how the designer hid all those pieces over here and in the side build. Bag 1 gives us this very interesting side build with a treasure chest, as well as the first part of the body of the dragon. And I will point out an interesting building technique before I forget about it. Because this distance from this corner to this corner is the same as the distance from this corner to this corner, it's obvious because it's a rectangle, then you actually could put a rectangle here not aligned to the grid. So instead of putting it like this, the designer actually put it this way, like this. And that actually works because it's the exact same distance, so that's pretty smart. I would have never thought of that. Inside the treasure chest, we have these pearlescent, opalescent pieces. So yeah, it's very interesting. Alright, let's continue with bag 2. See lots of interesting greens in bag 2, so let's point them out. This is regular green, this is bright green, this is yellowish green or greenish yellow, and this is spring green. So all these are 4 different types of green, and there are more greens, like olive green, that are not included in this set, but it's just interesting how there's so many colors. Oh, and this is sand green as well. So yeah, it's nice to see all the greens next to each other. Bag 2 finishes up the main body of the dragon, as well as the tail. It's very satisfying to click these into place. Yeah, it's starting to take shape, and it's a lot longer than I thought it would be. I love the Easter egg of having these heart pieces included in the set in bright green. We don't really notice them in the dragon, but I'm happy that they included this reference to Valentine's Day. It's very subtle, but very cute. I'll say right before this gets covered up that I appreciate the reference to muscles and gold within the dragon body. This is going to be hidden away once it's all covered up, but it's still a nice reference in there. Bag 3 builds these 4 legs of the dragon, although not the feet, and these take a lot longer to build than I would have thought. And here's what the dragon looks like so far. I would have never imagined that we could use hinge pieces right here, but we can. It's a very interesting build technique. This will not be articulatable in the end, but it's a nice way to achieve this angle. Yeah, very smart. Bag 4 gives us the head and the neck, as well as the 4 identical feet of the dragon. And if you want a traditional Chinese-style dragon without the wings, then we're done with the build at bag 4, no need to build bag 5. And here's what the dragon looks like without the wings. It's a pretty decent build, pretty sizable and pretty respectable, I would say. Bag 5 builds these beautiful wings. It can be attached to the dragon, like this. And we're now done with the build. And what a build it is. So I'm just going to move the box away to give me a bit more space, because this thing is a lot larger than I thought it would be. It took me about 3 hours to build this thing without the instructions, but I did take my time. I wanted to pace myself instead of rushing to finish it, because I really enjoyed the building process. It was very nice, it was very straightforward, and I enjoyed all the different building techniques, including some surprising parts that I was not expecting, like the wings. So let's just take a quick look at the dragon first before we talk about the details. So it's a pretty large dragon. You can hold it with one hand, it's pretty sociable, but it's a little bit heavy. If it's a younger child, they're probably going to want to hold it with both hands. It's not that heavy, but like there's some substance here. It's not like those tiny little poly bags that I've been building recently. So yeah, quite interesting. It looks good from most angles, if not all. The side build, we already looked at that when I built bag 1, but just to get it out of the way, there's these gray things, which are maybe volcanoes or just pillars of some larger structure that we'd have to imagine. And there's some gems here, or whatever you want to call these pearlescent, opalescent pieces that are in this treasure chest, and lots of gold pieces. So ingots, this golden cup, very useful stuff, and you could take this stuff and use it elsewhere in your LEGO city if you want to. And even the side build has an interesting building technique of mounting this at a particular angle. So this is something that I was not used to. I've not seen this before, but it's pretty interesting. So it's simple but interesting nonetheless. So very nice, and I like all the gold pieces that are used here. Now for the dragon itself, it's a pretty big beast. If you take away the tail and the wings, it's not that large. Like the core part of the dragon is just from here to here, but then you add everything and it barely fits in frame. So here's a look at it from the top. And it just keeps going and going. From the side, we've already seen it. This is probably its weakest point. Like if you just look at it straight on and you see like the head, how narrow it is, like this is not such a great look. This is fine, but this right here is not so cool. But it's just that one specific angle. As soon as you start turning it this way, it starts looking good again. And here's a look from the back. And from the underside, I appreciate that they use these spring green inverted pieces to cover it up, so we rarely see any anti-studs. It's some quite nice work by the designer right there. And we see the same pattern here across the neck and chest. So yeah, on first glance, this looks great. Now let's take a look at it in more detail. We do have some decent articulation here at the neck, but only up and down because there's a double ball joint here, so we cannot rotate this in any shape or form, just bring it up or down, but that's okay. Here we have a ball joint at the neck, and we can rotate this in pretty much every which way. And because of this piece, it makes it impossible to make it completely upside down, but that's fine. The range of motion here I think is pretty decent. The jaws, both upper and lower, can move, although this one can only move a little bit, whereas the lower jaw can move a lot. So if you want to make it shocked or something, you can open the mouth all the way, but I think this is a more reasonable pose if you want to open it. And I like the use of these clip pieces for the teeth. It really makes sense as a side profile, and if you shine a light on this thing, and you just look at the shadow of it, it's not very visible, but that's kind of the idea, then it looks pretty cool. So yeah, that's a nice thing. The legs here are on ratchets, so they can move like this, back and forth, and they can also be splayed in and out. There are no knees. In terms of the articulation, this is a fixed angle, but then the ankles can move. So one of the challenges is just finding a pose where the thing is standing on all fours and it's not out of balance, so it's a small challenge to fix that, but nothing too difficult. And once that's done, then you can adjust the poses accordingly. And just move the wings out of the way to make it easier to see what's going on over here. So yeah, here it's actually standing on 3 legs. This one is not touching the ground, but that can be adjusted. And it does hold its weight with 3 legs, so that's good. With 2 legs, not so much. It really needs at least 3 legs to hold its weight, but it's a pretty big thing, so that's not surprising. The feet for the front and back are identical, and they have these claws that can be slayed in and out as well, so you can adjust these according to your liking, so that's pretty good. I do like the shaping, especially with the hind leg right here. We see a bit of plant inspiration. This is actually literally a plant piece, and same thing on the other side. This whole dragon is symmetrical, so if I show you something on one side, the mirror of it will be on the other side. So yeah, it's plant inspired. You can kind of think of this as a plant dragon maybe. That's one interesting possibility. And it has some gold that is intentionally visible here, here, etc. Maybe it's a dragon of money and plants. It's an interesting thing to think about. And I do like the use of the Nexonite shields all over the place, here, 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 just to give it that nice scaly shape. Although I wish they could have recolored these joint pieces so that they're not in the dark and light bluish gray. But overall, not too bad. The wings look fine even from the bottom, which is not their best angle. They look totally fine, but they look even better from this side. And what surprised me, what I was not expecting, is that the wings are completely adjustable. So not only can you fold them up and down, you can rotate them like this. So lots of articulation and posing possibilities right there. But then you can also spread the individual parts out. So that's very, very nice. The only thing that could have made this better if there was some kind of automatic mechanism where you press a button and the wings open out automatically. That was probably outside of the budget of the set. I do know they did that previously with, I believe, a Ninjago dragon, so maybe you can add that functionality if you want to your own dragon, if you can figure out how to put it here without adding too much bulk to the thing. But yeah, with just regular standard Lego pieces, these are mildly specialized pieces because you can find these in mechs and other things. There's nothing here that's very specialized to this dragon. It's quite a nice build nonetheless, so I'm very happy with the work that the designer put in here. And just for completeness, here's the tail. We've looked at it before, and you can move it all the way like this. Just be careful because this is a single ball joint, unlike these which are doubled. And again, if these were recolored, I think that would look a lot better, because then it would be red-green instead of red-gray-green. I do like the pyramid pieces used here to add additional texture, and this is the rocket. Maybe this is a classic space logo reference, because it kind of looks like the red rocket from the Lego classic space logo. Yeah, I'll let you judge that, but I do think there's a similarity right there. So yeah, it's a pretty nice build overall. I'm very happy with it. And just in terms of posing, I'm wondering, can this stand on its hind legs? And I don't think you can do that with just the default configuration, because the tail gets in the way. It's very long, and it does not fold in the right way to make this possible. If I take away the tail, it's not easy to do. I don't know if it's possible. It's probably very difficult to do, and I'm sure someone in the world is going to be able to do it. Those people who know how to like balance a rock on a cup that's filled with, like, you get the idea. So those people are probably going to be able to balance the dragon, but it's not a trivial thing to balance. And with the tail removed, it's easier to see this inner part of the hind leg with the green heart in there, so the dragon might be very dangerous and menacing, but he or she has a soft side. So that's pretty interesting to me. And putting the tail back on, yeah, so the tail can rotate like this, in addition to the articulation that I showed previously, so that is good to keep in mind. Actually, if we do this, then yeah, no matter what, like, it's never going to go out of the way completely, just because this thing here is, it cannot go up and down, it can just spin in this particular direction. But it's acceptable nonetheless. We looked at the head before, but I just want to point out these horn pieces. There's multiple horns here. In fact, 6 in total, 1, 2, 3, and 3 on this side. And they didn't need to go this far, but I'm happy that they did, because this is quite nice. I do like the fact that the eyes are also brick built. In fact, it's just a regular hollow stud on top of a bar. Here it's done in gold, and I like the effect. It's really, really special. So I'm happy they didn't just use the printed eye, and instead they chose something a bit more special for the main build. I do like the colors used for the wings as well. So we have dark red for the most part, but then some bright red right here. So yeah, that's also pretty cool. And if you like what you see here, if you like this dragon, then I think you're going to enjoy building it and owning it. If you don't like what you see here, then probably get something else, because the main point of this product is the final result, in my opinion. Yes, the build experience is nice, but there's nothing here that's mind-blowing to such an extent that you just want to build this thing and then forget about it right after. This right here is pretty cool, combining the hinge piece with the ball and socket connection at just the perfect angle. So I did appreciate building this, but it's not mind-blowing, it's just a cool thing. So now that I've built this dragon, and having seen other people build the much larger Lego Ninjago Source Dragon that was released last year, I believe in August or October, I feel like this dragon offers a lot of that build experience at a much lower price, and I'm very happy about that. One thing that I'm not happy about in this set is a complete lack of minifigures. I just don't understand why they couldn't have included 2 minifigures at the very least. At the very, very least, the bare minimum is 1 minifigure to ride this dragon. I mean, the designer even left 4 studs exposed just so we can put a minifigure here. And I think what they could have done is either give us a medieval minifigure, or just a character from Ninjago, copy-paste him from another set. Probably they're going to include Lloyd being the green ninja for a green dragon. I think that makes the most sense. Or you could also include Kai, the red ninja with mostly green dragon with some red accents, or include them both. Like, these are very popular characters. They're included in so many different sets in Ninjago, so just copy-paste these parts, include them here so that this is a full playset that is ready to go. You can even market it as Lego Creator / Ninjago 3-in-1. to get Ninjago fans to buy this thing. But then that might cannibalize the sales of the other Ninjago dragons, so maybe that's the reason why they did not do that. Although I really wish they did, because this dragon right here, being completely brick built, I think is better than many, but not all, of the Ninjago dragons that we've gotten recently that rely too much on stickers and specialized parts. This one has 0 stickers. It's completely brick built in terms of its details, and this is proof that in 2025, you don't need stickers to have a good visual appearance. This looks totally fine without stickers, and without specialized parts that are included only in this set and nowhere else. Or, and I know LEGO would never do this, but imagine if they included either the Dragonborn Paladin or the Wolfpack Beastmaster. These are recent LEGO collectible minifigures with this dragon. I think that would have been very epic. Like the dragon guy especially, like, it just makes sense to have a dragon riding a dragon, at least in my brain. So I really wish they could have offered us at least 1 or 2 minifigures in this set. There's a build experience without the instructions, I already talked about it, but most of this dragon, what you see is what you get. There's some parts that are a little bit challenging, mostly on the interior, trying to figure out what pieces go where. You have to use the process of elimination, build everything that you see first, and then there's going to be some pieces remaining, and then you're going to use those pieces to fill in the blanks wherever you need. So for example, there was a 3rd gray cylinder in bag 1 that obviously did not go in the side build, and it turns out that it was used somewhere in the inside of the dragon. The same thing for a bunch of the ingots as well, the golden ingots. And here's a quick comparison with the young dragon Ryu set from last year. This is part of the Ninjago theme. It's sold separately, of course. And this is what I was talking about earlier about not needing to have stickers or specialized molds, like this piece that would only be used in this set and nowhere else. This piece is pretty specialized in the wings. It turns out you actually need none of these to have a successful dragon, and this is the proof right here. Everything is brick built, but it looks fine. The wings are brick built and there's no stickers. But for a cheap toy for kids, this is not too bad either. So I don't want to be too harsh on young dragon Ryu. And if you want to add this dragon to your LEGO Ninjago Dragons Rising scene, I think that this dragon will fit in quite nicely. And you can imagine him to be the source dragon of plants or something like that. And this is a size comparison with the Leonardo da Vinci flying machine. The dragon obviously has a much larger footprint compared to the flying machine, but they are roughly comparable. Still, I feel like the dragon would offer more stuff, but this thing is more fun to play with because of the mechanism where you pull this thing and then the wings flap up and down. But if you can't decide between one or the other, maybe you should get both and then combine them into one dragon that flaps the wings up and down. And I would like to introduce this flapping mechanism right here. Obviously, you're going to have to make some changes because these wings are very heavy compared to the very light wings here, but I believe that it can be done if you know what you're doing. So yeah, in terms of price and value, this thing costs $60 US, 60, or $80 Canadian for 715 pieces. Some of them are tiny 1x1s, but a lot of them are pretty large. So I think that on paper, the value is there. In practice, the value is there because the build is very nice. It's very enjoyable. I had a great time putting this together, and there were very rarely any frustrations. And it's a 3-in-1. So when you're done with this dragon, you can rebuild it into a snake for the year of the snake. You can also rebuild it into a phoenix. And this dragon unofficially is part of so many different LEGO themes. So you could use it as part of Ninjago Dragons Rising. You could use it as part of the Chinese New Year celebrations or Lunar New Year celebrations. You could use it as part of Harry Potter with the phoenix build right here. So I think a lot of LEGO fans who like many different LEGO themes are going to appreciate having this medieval dragon. Or of course, medieval fans as well, castle fans. If you like having a large dragon in your fantasy LEGO city, which is something that I really want to do, then this dragon would be a very welcome addition, although it is quite large. So there were other dragons that LEGO created in the past. They were a lot smaller, just like the Ryu dragon that we looked at earlier. This one really has a large footprint, and that's for better or for worse, and I think it's for better. You spend a lot of money, this really gives you your money's worth in terms of having a dragon of an appropriate size. It's pretty substantial, and I'm pretty happy with the final result. And the fact that you can rebuild this using these pieces into 2 other builds makes it even better. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the LEGO Creator 3-in-1 Medieval Dragon. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. And be sure to like and subscribe for more amazing videos coming your way very soon. Thanks again, happy Lunar New Year, and see you in the next one.